Welcome to my back garden. It's the spring 2020 and we've been here now 7 years. And when I first bought the house, I was in a hurry to buy. I loved the house. It was February time, didn't really look at the garden. And now the front or back is particularly good or particularly beautiful. So we spent a lot of time trying to beautify it, to make it a little oasis. So what this little tour is going to do of our back garden is to follow the sun round the garden, so you get an idea of all the plants and all the pots and all the surfaces that we've worked very hard on. So here's Matthew when we first moved in. If you look at the back wall, you can see that nothing much is growing there. It's all concrete and ugly old brick. Just about the only thing you do is pose for a few old photographs. But I took a risk and planted some red aces. And Margaret gave me evergreen camellia. And once the red aces started to grow, I stuck some yellow aces in. And pretty soon, it was starting to look better. Still pretty bleak, but better. But one thing is, you've got to love your plants. And if you do, they'll love you back. It starts to look good. But how on earth could I achieve this on a north-facing wall? And the reason for being able to plant this row is that there's a gap up there between the houses and light comes through for just a few hours. You can also see that where the owl is, the neighbour has kept the plants cropped down so the light comes through. And then at the back there, you've got a rhododendron, a big old rhododendron, and that was in the little mead right round the back. So against this north-facing wall, I think we've done about as well as we can, and we get the light at about 11 o'clock, the first light coming into the garden. So, sun in the morning means coffee, maybe a perusal of the computer when it's shady. Daniel have all his crony old friends round, and I was able to use the space when it came to my party. And you can see that Woody and Paddy aren't the brightest of them all, but here's old Daniel smouldering away, and the view starting to look so much better as the aces start to blur into each other. So, quite a change in 7 years, both for the wall and for Matthew. This is the view from the kitchen door. Cheap red brick, concrete paving, a few old pots with plants growing in them, are not looking great. Even at its absolute best, not really somewhere you'd want to eat. We need to do something radical. Let's paint it. Paint it the same colours as the houses around. You see Matthew beavering away there. Also stuck artificial grass down, which softens the whole thing up. Which means I'm very excited because there's a party coming up. None better than Daniel's epic World Cup party. Also Big Sam and Matthew going off to a ball. Granny still the matriarch of the Hansel family, and Daniel practicing his smouldering. So putting all that together, you can see the aces along the north side and blending into the green acer against the garage wall, red robins, the yellow acer, and if we keep on going, another red robin, and finally we're coming to my pride and joy, the red acer from the little mead. So the space is altogether now better for entertaining after my party. It's also nice to have Bronwyn and my mum round for a big family old barbecue. And you get the boys round, there's Rob and Arthur, and we've also got Humphrey, our noisiest guest of all. But we've still got a bit of a problem, and that problem is the house at the back. So the best way to obscure that is with a beautiful red robin. It's just going to go all the way around, I think, for this one. Just going to get that all the way going through there. Isn't that great? All the way around. That's basically a morning sun. So the biggest problem of all was the south-facing wall. Problem being that it wasn't there. We just had a dirty, great big gap with a small seating area. See Matthew cycling out past a funny little red wall, which we had knocked down and started to plant plants. Before we had the fence, the whole area was public. And what this basically meant was that 80% of the garden was useless. We didn't use the paved area, we didn't really use the grass area, and we didn't really use the decking. We just had a small area that got the sun in the afternoon. So the single thing which has changed this garden the most has been closing up this space. So from outside you can see how the gate looked. I think it looked pretty good. We also put in pots a whole range of trees to soften up the house next door. And that meant now that we could start to use the whole garden. Here's Thomas and his mates. Here's me doing a Wisdom of Dad video.
A beautiful garden here, swinging round. And what's this we see here? It's Daniel. Hello, Daniel.
Hello.
Garden needs help. Here's Matthew, triumphant after power hosing. And we've also got Mel, who's watering the new plants where the wall used to be.
This is my gardening workforce. Matthew is focused on the front and Daniel on the back. We'll start off with Matthew. Matthew, of all the plants in this back garden, which is your favourite?
Today it is this one, which is
Yes.
a glorious flower and won't be for long. So
And
for now this is my favourite.
Lace canna capped hydrangea. We used to have a version of that in the Little Mead. Now, Daniel, can you compete with that? What is your?
I was going to say this one, but now I have decided this tree in the corner.
That's the eucalyptus tree, which is
I
getting.
think it is tall and lovely, and I especially like the stones in its pot.
Originally, we only had this tiny seating area, which wasn't much good for anything other than washing dogs. So we knocked the wall down. And once we did that, you could see that the space was really quite small indeed. So we started to enclose it, lace-capped hydrangea. You can see how it fits into the whole garden. We've got this lovely little enclosed space, and this is the view from the kitchen door.
Let's take a walk into the hidden garden. Lace-capped hydrangea on the left, Aces on the right, with a little bit of lilac coming up there. Coming to the hydrangea pot. On the left-hand side, a Weigelia, nice green bush, Ceanothus, and there's the bench. Some idiot's written, "That is great" there. Can't imagine who that would be. Right the way down to this little pot here, blue pot, which Chris Harris gave me.
Daniel does love a good smolder, and it's always hard to get the Hansel boys to line up, especially if they've got the sun in their eyes as they sit on the old bench. So it's 2:30 now, and the sun's come right the way onto the bench. You can see where the old red brick wall used to be, which is now a flower bed. And then beyond that, you get to the patio area, which has got the barbecue and the weights. You can see the round table on the left-hand side where we have lunch. This is me just after the work had been done, continuing to put trees. Here's a eucalyptus tree, and then a beautiful white cherry blossom, which I've moved a number of times.
Hydrangea or water lover. And as you come around here, you can see, oh yes, that's how we get the water. A sprinkler system. All these pots get fed twice a day. Isn't that brilliant? Trying to soften it up with as many trees as I can ram in. There's also a beautiful camellia bush in there somewhere, but it's the different coloured leaves that I really love. And this is the view of our back door. So that's the end of our little tour of our little back garden in late April 2020, right in the middle of the coronavirus lockdown. Hope you've enjoyed it. I'm going to leave you with some nice photographs of people enjoying themselves in the garden, because that, at the end of the day, is what a garden's for. Bye bye. So here are all the boys enjoying the sunshine in the back garden, and here's Mum in earlier days sitting on an old bench, and here's me surveying my empire. Daniel! In you go.
Oh, bloody hell. Beautiful and warm. Ah! Oh, it's got to my willy. It's cold.
I'll wave at the camera.
Hi.
Bye bye, Daniel.
Ah! What an absolute delight.